Has this ever happened to you?
I hate all animals. They're dirty and gross.
Don't you have a dog?
Well, I like dogs, but all the other animals are dirty and gross.
Oh, you had a cat too.
Okay, well, clearly I'm talking about animals that aren't dogs or cats.
If this has ever happened to you, you've either experienced or committed the hedging fallacy.
Before we explain what the hedging fallacy is, let's start from the basics. A fallacious argument occurs when somebody uses faulty reasoning. There are hundreds of fallacies, and they are categorized as either formal or informal. A formal fallacy occurs when there is an error in the form of an argument, and an informal fallacy occurs when there is an error in the actual context of the argument.
Now that we've reviewed some key information, I will now explain our specific fallacy. The hedging fallacy, also referred to as ambiguity, is defined according to logicallyfallacious.com as refining your claim simply to avoid counter-evidence and then acting as if your revised claim is the original. In other words, this person is constantly hedging their argument in order to avoid being proven wrong or being called out on what they said.
Now let's look back at the example from earlier. Person A made the original claim that all animals are dirty and gross. After being reminded that she herself actually owns an animal, person A changed the claim to be all animals are dirty and gross except for dogs. The addition of except for dogs is what changed or hedged the original claim. This is seen again when person B asks, "I thought you had a cat too." In response, person A alters their claim, again, presenting it as if it were the original claim by stating, "Well, clearly I am talking about all animals that aren't dogs or cats." This is a pretty noticeable difference between the claims all animals are dirty and gross and all animals except for dogs and cats are dirty and gross. This is the hedging fallacy at work.
Let's look at an example of hedging in politics. During his presidency, Bill Clinton was accused of having sexual relations with the White House intern. Clinton made the statement, "I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky." The act of hedging his claim occurred later when he redefined sexual relations in a way that would not be similar to most people.
Relating to what we mentioned earlier, the hedging fallacy is an example of an informal fallacy. This is an informal fallacy because while the form of the claim is correct, the actual content of the claim is constantly being changed. But there are ways to avoid making this fallacious mistake. According to the Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy, you do not use the fallacy if you explicitly accept the counter evidence, admit that your original claim is incorrect, and then revise it so that it avoids the counter argument. Let's take a look at how the example from earlier could be revised to avoid committing the hedging fallacy. I hate all animals.
Don't you have a dog?
Yeah, well, other than a dog.
Don't you have a cat?
Yeah, that too.
So you don't hate all animals?
No, just like rodents. In conclusion, we learned that hedging occurs when someone constantly changes their claim to avoid counter evidence. Hedging is an informal fallacy. Hedging can also be referred to as ambiguity, and that hedging can be avoided if a person accepts the counter evidence and does not present their revised claim as the original.